Hello and welcome to St Luke and Christ Church, Chelsea. In our next 4 sessions, we're exploring the Creed, what it holds, why it does, and what it might mean for us as we say the words together week by week, but even more so, how it informs what we think and how we live every day. We're dividing the Creed into 4 parts: the Creator, Jesus Christ, the Holy Spirit, and then, well, the rest. A division which naturally falls from the structure of the creeds themselves. Now, while there are several creeds, the 2 used most frequently in the Church of England for worship are the Nicene Creed, said at every celebration of communion, and the Apostles' Creed, said, for example, at Evensong. Do have a copy of one of those available, or we can give you the words. Now, close your eyes and listen to this for 2 minutes and 20 seconds. That's how Joseph Haydn said, felt, saw, imagined the beginning of creation, writing in 1797. Haydn used the first verses of Genesis as his inspiration, and it seeks to describe the work of God as cause and creator of all that is. As the Nicene Creed says, we believe in one God, the Father, the Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, of all that is seen and unseen. So we're affirming together, though doubtless if 100 people are in the congregation, we're affirming in 101 varying ways, including the priest, how we see this. We could argue that we now have to answer this conundrum of God the Creator in science. And if we're asking the how question, how did it happen, then science, rather than Genesis, is a much, much better place to look. For Genesis, like so much of the scriptures, is not principally about how, but about why. And if God is the creator of all that is, seen and unseen, we shouldn't be afraid or jealous of the insights of science, for that too is part of God's creation. Now, asking radical questions is discouraged by every society that believes in the rightness of its own self. Witness China and Hong Kong at the moment. But it is radical questioning I'm interested in, and radical questioning which the Church needs to be interested in here. The Dominican theologian Herbert McCabe writes, "We've familiarised ourselves with the answer to the question, how come there are dogs? Biology, anatomy, genetics, Darwinism all contribute to this familiarity. But what we haven't familiarised ourselves with is the answer to the question, why the world instead of nothing? Of course, we have no way of answering that question, but it doesn't mean we shouldn't be asking it, just like Joseph Haydn attempted to do. Wittgenstein argued, not how the world is, but that it is the mystery. Not how the world is, but that it is the mystery. And of course, as we say the Creed, we're not so much answering a question of how, but entering together a mystery of why. If the question of God could be answered with clear, definitive statements, then whatever we are talking about just wouldn't be God. Certainly a God who in this sense might be comprehensible wouldn't be worth worshipping. We believe in the maker of heaven and earth, of all that is, seen and unseen. That has no answer. But in asking hard questions, we're reaching toward, we're not arriving at, but reaching toward an answer. I remember standing on the top of Dondra Head Lighthouse on the southern coast of Sri Lanka and thinking, how amazing! There's nothing between me and the South Pole. And then realising what a stupid thought that was. There's sea, there are plankton and sperm whales and icebergs and oil tankers. And yet, yes, also in one sense, nothing that I could see. But God cannot be added into that mix. For God is not a thing, an existent thing among others. And if we talk about God making heaven and earth, causing the existence of everything, we can't mean that he makes the universe out of pre-existent bits and bobs. McCabe again. Whatever creation means, it is not a process of making. The analogy of the potter and the pot is just that for our limited sense, analogy. But God, Herbert McCabe asserts, isn't an animate inhabitant of the universe, but the reason for the universe. The reason for the universe. That God is in everything that happens in the universe. Again, McCabe, just as if a pen writes, it is because in its action, a writer is using the pen to act. So we as Christians, at the beginning of our statement of belonging and belief, are saying, it is because it is God that wields every agent in the universe, that agents bring things into existence, make things new. Every action in the world is an action of God, because it is by his action that the creature is itself and has its own activity. Dogs will be dogs, elephants will be elephants. Hence, creatures and creation are a path towards God. We come across God when we search for an answer, and all too often fail to find God when we think we've got the answer. I think of R.S. Thomas, the Welsh priest and poet, who wrote, "Never known as anything but an absence, I dare not name him as God, but can only say, when suddenly coming upon an amendment, that here he has been." Thomas is not being negative, but extremely positive, for it is in this absence, in this total otherness beyond our imagining, that answers lie, and being drawn into the mystery of why a God on whom all is dependent roots that dependency in love, and out of love all creativity flows, in that dependence and mystery that we must go on asking questions. Which brings us neatly to next week's session of a man who loved and was loved and is loved, Jesus the Christ. Thanks for listening.